Abraham Maslow was a psychologist and behavioural scientist who's best known for his work, which you'll sometimes hear being called Maslow's triangle, but is now normally referred to as his hierarchy of needs. As a behaviouralist, Maslow worked on the principle that we are not motivated by other people, by our sales manager for example, but all of us are self-motivated, and our motivation comes from responding to a situation based on what we believe the consequences of acting in different ways are in that situation. In other words, we all work on the basis of what's in it for me. But crucially, Maslow looked at what's in it for me from a psychological point of view, rather than, I don't know, how much commission we might get. It's worth saying that Maslow's theory has been around for a number of years, but is still going very strong and is still shaping a lot of management thinking. In my view, it's still a very useful tool to help us in a quite practical sense to figure out how we can motivate people, or rather how we can best allow them to motivate themselves. So let me just present the model and then maybe a few words about its implications. So let me just present the model and then maybe a few words about its implications, which you will undoubtedly want to discuss with your coach. So, as we've said, Maslow starts from the position that people, individuals, are motivated to do things according to consequences, or our perception of those consequences. But those consequences are directed towards satisfying certain psychological needs that we all have, and that all of our actions will be geared towards satisfying those needs. These needs occur in a hierarchy, which means that once we've satisfied our needs at one level, then we'll need to satisfy some higher level need. So let me go through the model and hopefully this will become very clear. At the base level are what Maslow calls physiological needs, which means that we all need some adequate food, water, housing, warmth. In fact, as a side, Maslow included sex in this basic physiological level. And we all have need for all of these things. And so a lot of our actions at the base level are geared towards making sure that these needs are met. And it's only after we believe that these needs are met that we move on and start thinking about other things. The next level we think about is what Maslow calls security and safety needs, which means not only are we able to feed ourselves and pay the mortgage, etc. today, but we have the sense that we can do the same tomorrow and next month and next year. So this means we are confident in terms of our financial security, our job security, our health and wellness, our safety, etc. I'll come back to what happens when these needs are threatened, but for now, let's assume that people in your sales team are going to be fairly confident in terms of their physiological needs and their feelings of safety and security. The third level is what Maslow called the social level. Some people call it the love and belonging level, where once we are confident in our physiological needs, once we are fairly confident about security, what we want to feel is a sense of belonging. We want to feel part of a group, part of a community. We want friends around us. It's really interesting with new employees. In the main, once they have established themselves in the company, they will start to form friendship groups. They will go out of their way to meet and greet people, maybe to get involved in any of the social activities with the team. And for some people, this is the major part of why they come to work. Not so much from what we can tell for salespeople, but definitely for people in other roles, particularly maybe supporting roles. As a manager, you probably do want to pay some attention to this social set of needs, being on the lookout for any individuals who are feeling excluded from the group, etc. Again, let's assume that people in your team feel that this need has been met for them and that they have a circle of friends or mates that they feel comfortable with. The next level that then kicks in is what's known as the esteem level. And this is where people are looking to be comfortable about where they are in a hierarchy. They want appreciation. They want respect from those around them. People want a sense of accomplishing things and having their efforts recognised. And this helps them with their self-esteem and their sense of personal worth. You can see this need being managed in many environments. For example, McDonald's awarding their burger flippers a number of stars on their badge. And it does work because people will be motivated trying to achieve those 5 stars. It's amazing that simple things like Salesman of the Month awards, the annual Top Salesperson Incentive Award, do mean a lot to many people. We will, by the way, in other modules discuss how it's critical that those kind of things are set up properly, but for now, by themselves, if they're managed well, then they can be huge motivators, or rather they allow other people to motivate themselves in quite a major way. Now, there's some research that suggests that salespeople often get stuck at this level, and you probably have you have probably come across some people, maybe people in your team now, who constantly need that pat on the back, that personal mention in a sales meeting for the great job that they are doing, and for whom getting on to the end of year achievers trip is hugely, hugely important. There is a 5th level, which Maslow calls self-actualization, which is where people are very self-aware. They're concerned about personal growth. They want a sense of fulfillment in a very broad sense, about their place in the wider world and about being their best. So you can see why it used to be called a triangle or a pyramid. It's now normally referred to as the hierarchy of needs because our actions are motivated by satisfying these needs. And once one level is satisfied, we move up a level. You may want to think about the salespeople or all the people in your own team and maybe those around you and what level they are operating at, because this gives us good clues as to what we want to do to help them to be more motivated. Do we need to just focus on getting them decent remuneration? Might be important for junior staff who are really struggling just to buy food at the end of the month. Or are they looking at that security level? Maybe people who are still in their probation period, where all of their actions are actually going to be motivated by getting through that probation. You'll probably have people in the team who are motivated at the social level, and it's not uncommon in sales teams, particularly for many people to be motivated at the esteem level. And perhaps a few people, maybe the very successful people who have been successful for a while, very capable people who have good accounts or good territories, these people may be much more into self-actualization. And clearly we need to provide them with a different environment to work in. The other key learning for me as a manager is what happens when you threaten a lower level. And let me give you a couple of examples. Say you've got a salesperson operating at one of the higher levels, at the esteem level or the social level. And then one day they get a diagnosis from their doctor of a serious illness of some kind. So yesterday this person may have been haranguing you about a promotion or a pay rise, or how do they get salesman of the month, or how do they get on the annual trip. But now that is all going to go out of the window, and all their behaviour is going to be both at the physiological and probably also the security levels. They will just want to make sure that they're going to get through this awful personal situation. Another example is when companies have to downsize. And again, let's say you have a sales team with a bunch of good salespeople, and your boss or the company announces that for whatever reason 10% of the workforce is going to be made redundant in 3 months' time. What happens? In nearly all cases, 100% of the team will be worrying about that. They will be putting their CVs, their resumes out there to look for other jobs, even if it's just for an insurance policy for them. And they're not going to be trying to maximise results. They're going to be trying to take lots of actions to make sure that they are not the one that gets made redundant. Announcing future redundancies ahead of time is something that many companies have to do from a legal perspective, or want to do because they think they're being open and honest. But the downside is that you are going to get huge swathes of your employees motivated, not about making a big success, but motivated to make sure that they are not the ones that are let go. I'm sure you can think of many other examples. You have people operating at one level. If you then threaten a lower level, behaviour is going to be affected. So Maslow is quite interesting. Personally, and for a lot of sales managers that I work with, it's a really nice, very simple tool that we can just refer to now and again. It's not the most leading edge tool, but it's very pragmatic and very useful. If you want to take this a little further, then in the further resources section, I've included a little questionnaire that will help you to think for yourself how much importance you place on each of the 5 levels. It doesn't take very long, and it can be very interesting. As always, I'd suggest that you discuss this model with your coach, both in terms of your response to Maslow, but mostly thinking about the people around you and how they can be motivated, or rather what you can do to help them to motivate themselves more. We hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful in developing your sales management skills. It's one of a series designed to help aspiring, new or developing sales managers. Please subscribe to get access to all of the tutorials in the series and to get news of new ones added. You can also go to www.realsalesmanager.com, where you'll find lots of other activities and resources, as well as guides suggesting the best sequence in which to listen to or watch these tutorials.